Today we are on week 4 of our coaching series, Spring into Spring. And last week we were talking about setting some SMART goals. This week we're going to get into implementing those goals. And the way that I like to implement goals is to use a bullet journal. So when I first came to the library, I had never heard of bullet journals. I had done a number of other kinds of planners, and some of them had worked well and others not so well. And everyone on the staff at the time when I came here was talking bullet journals. So I looked into it and wow, really liked it. So a bullet journal was invented by Ryder Carroll, and you can go to bulletjournal.com to find out about it. And currently the people in our library who are using bullet journals for planning things are me and Margaret. And so Margaret, can you tell us what it is you like about using a bullet journal?
What I like about bullet journals is that I can take my week and break it down into different days and taking stuff from my head and writing it down. That's the thing I really like about it. So I can set myself tasks for the week and plan stuff. So it's like right now I'm planting seeds for my garden. And so I'm going like, okay, so this is the 8th week before the last day of frost. So these are the seeds I can plant, and I can say when they germinated and all that kind of stuff. But and keeping track of people too. It's like it's a reminder. Okay, I need to call my dad today. I need to call my neighbor who I'm close friends with. Keep track of her. And
Sure.
You use it for?
I use it for day-to-day tasks, of course. But also I have a couple of seniors that I look after or take to appointments at least. And this system allows me to not only say take so-and-so for an appointment, but when I'm in the doctor's office and they're giving all these information to the patient, I can sit there and write down all the notes. And everything that I keep through the year is in these nice handy little journals, which just fit in the back of my purse or whatever. One of the things that Ryder Carroll talks about, and he is actually a computer programmer type of person, is that when you do a brain dump, you put stuff into these bullet journals. Now you're not in that decision overload that is part of all the apps we have on our phones, and which app am I going to put what? Where do I keep my recipes? Where do I keep this? Where do I keep that? You technically could keep it all in your bullet journal for a year if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do today is kind of give you some basic components of a bullet journal and talk with Margaret about how she uses them and how I use them. And then you can get on Pinterest and see all kinds of amazing things that people do with bullet journals. And this is just a starting off point. But it's also, planting seeds, as Margaret said. That's what this week is all about. We've decided what goals, what seeds we want. And now we're going to plant them so that they are going to be able to grow. So we had talked before about goals and how people have New Year's resolutions and they fizzle. Well, if you use a bullet journal, you are much more likely to get your goal accomplished.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So the first part of a bullet journal, the first component, is the index, which is kind of like a table of contents. And basically, you write down, you have your subject and pages, really. So as you go through your bullet journal, say you were writing notes, I might be writing notes about my senior on page 243. Then I write senior, page 243, doctor notes, and then I can go back. So it doesn't matter where you write. For example, like in here, there's my calendar, and then, I went to a meeting, and I just wrote a whole bunch of notes. And then you just continue, because it's not pre-set up, back to your calendar again, and you just continue along. There's more calendar pages. And so the way you find them quickly is by going back to that index. And some people keep a legend for their index. So for example, as I progressed to doing various ones, I developed an index. So for example, when I'm doing stuff with my dad, I'm using a black pen. So I know anything the black pen is his, so that I don't have to dig so much for the title dad, right? Or if I'm doing something with a club that I belong to, well, that's purple. So then I look at the purple and I know really quickly where anything is that had to do with that. That's how I use my index. It's the first thing you do, and you basically need the subject and the pages.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And you have an index that you set up on yours way back.
Yeah, I did my very first index, and it didn't work out very good for me because, as you can see, it's not filled in. But what I've done instead of having an index, I've actually done tabs onto my book. So I know each tab is a different month.
So that works really well.
It works for me, yeah.
And that's the neat thing about this. Everybody's bullet journal is really different from each other's once you get the basics of how it works.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another one I sort of started, and I did it for October and then kind of went, okay, that's not working for me.
So Ryder Carroll calls 2 pages like this a spread. And so after he gets done with setting up his index, he moves on to his future log. So the future log is a spread like this. He suggests you divide it into 3 on each page, and each one is for each month. And so you can, in the beginning, I just jotted down the things I thought I needed to do in those months. And then later on I decided, I really would like to see a calendar here because it makes more sense to me. So I saw some of this on Pinterest, so I started adding calendars into my future log. And basically what happens, we'll explain it further later on, is that as you get to the end of a month, if things didn't get done and you want them done, or I have a birthday party way down or a wedding to go to 3 months from now, you can plug it in here. And then when you get to that month, you can transfer it in and you've got everything right there handy.
Mm-hmm. And so that's an example of your future log. Well, this is an example of the future log that I did in October. And since we're doing story time, and part of my job is to do the crafts for the story time, what I did is I went and had the calendar put on, and every single month I have 4 or 5 crafts listed of those are the crafts that we're going to do. So we are at the end of March, so we're going to be doing soon a meeting. So I actually have it on here in my lovely log for next week. Meeting with Alia and Ginger about Storytime crafts. And it's an idea. It could be moved to the next month, but it's written down. So that's talking about brain dumping into your month.
Right. So that's the future log. So your future log doesn't take up as much room, and then you move into a monthly log. So Ryder Carroll's idea is that I started in the middle of January when I started this. So I started on the 20th, but you can write down on one side all the days of the month. Then you write down the days of the week. So this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just by letters. You just jot it down quickly. You put in anything you really know about already. And then on the other side, you're supposed to write down just everything you think you need to do. It's kind of like that's a real brain dump. You just make a big list. And then later on, you can plug some of those things in. So that was his idea. My more recent ones are a little bit different than that. I really found I liked having a calendar that looked like a calendar instead of writing the numbers down one side of the page. But that's just what I'm used to. And then I don't even keep a jot list of all the things I need to do because I put them into my daily later on anyway, so I write it twice.
So then this is how I started with mine. And that's the neat thing about this. You can actually change it. So then I did for December, I did it this way. And then I went back to the way that Ginger was showing it. But it's so different for... That's the nice thing about a bullet journal is you can adapt it to what works for you. You have a planner. Some people have planners. And a planner is really good for some people, but for me it doesn't work because I like Ginger likes to write notes, and there's not enough space for those notes. And if you have a planner, then you actually need another book so that you can write your notes down in it. So for bullet journal, it works good because you don't fill up your whole bullet journal right away. You can have spots done.
Yeah, for sure. So after you've got your index and your future log and your monthly log, there's actually, which I didn't even write on there, and it's really the most important,
the weekly log.
Yeah, it's weekly or daily, whichever you want to call it. Weekly, daily. And really that's the kind of nuts and bolts of a bullet journal, and even why it's called a bullet journal, because basically what you have is you divide up your week. I like to have 4 days showing at least at the top of my page. You don't really need to cut off until you've filled these up. So that means, a week where you have 50 tasks in the first part of the week and nothing at the end, your lines don't have to be all measured out exact. So basically, I like to see at least 4 or 8 days in a row. I have done it where I've had more of them. And basically what you're doing is you're taking your goals and you're plugging them in. So back to when I was talking about what are your values, I list my values in a bullet journal. So I have your 5 important values. So mine are spirit, relationship. So I divided relationship into family, friends and others, my husband. Learning is another one, creativity is another one, and joy is another one. So those are mine. And I put bullets, little dots, under with the things that I'm planning to do for the month that fit those categories, so that I'm in track with what my values are, because I'm more likely to accomplish my goals if they fit my values. And then on a day-to-day basis, basically what you do is you bullet or put a dot and you just put down all the things you need to do. As soon as you've done it, you X the bullet, so you know you've done it. If you didn't get a chance to do it on that day, you put up one of those signs like that, and that means you're moving it forward, and you immediately put it somewhere else in your bullet journal so you don't forget to do it.
So that's how I have mine set up. So anything I got done, it's X'd out. Anything that's been transferred, and then there's also some that are just a dot, meaning that I still have to do them. So this is my very first one that I was doing for my bullet journal, and it progressed to other things. So I even wrote down what's going to be for supper for the week.
Oh, sure. And I have a meal plan right here, all the things that I've listed that I plan to make, so that when I go to the grocery store, I even have what page and what recipe book they're in. So when I come back from the grocery store, I actually make some of these meals and don't try to wing it with the food that I just stuffed into my fridge. So it's all about what you like to do and what you like to plan and getting your tasks done. There's some things that Ryder Carroll talks about that I'm just going to flip this backwards for a minute. When you're deciding on what to do and how important it is, you could make a mental inventory of what you're working on, what you need to be working on, and what you want to be working on. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And if you're choosing a task, after a while you get so you don't just write down any little task that comes into your head. You just write down tasks that you really fit those goals. So you ask yourself, is it vital? If it is, you're keeping it. It's either a responsibility or a goal, something you need to be working on or something you want to be working on. If it doesn't matter, if it isn't vital, now you ask yourself, does it matter? So if it matters, yes, you keep it. It might be a responsibility rather than something you want to do. Mm-hmm. Like, it matters to me to clean my bathroom. I don't like doing it, but it matters. So that would be more of a responsibility. I need to have it into my bullet journal so I do it. And then if it doesn't matter, it's a distraction. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's a lot of stories about people who have ADD and other things that cause them to be easily distracted. This bullet journal is really helpful for people who have that, or like getting a little bit older and just more forgetful. It's all there. You don't have to think, where did I put that sticky note? I don't have sticky notes at home.
We have a bullet journal.
It's all there. I know where it is.
And I think writer Carroll actually has ADD.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. And that's how, and his study habits were so horrible that he had to invent a system for it. And it's a really interesting story how he came up with it. Yeah.
Anyway, back to what we actually have. Mm-hmm. So the weekly, daily, and then the collections are really like all kinds of things. For example, I was learning about the Mediterranean diet from a library book, and I wanted to remember what this particular author wanted to say about it. So like I have multiple pages throughout talking about the Mediterranean diet. Well, I don't want to go looping through it here, so I go back to my index. Wherever I see Mediterranean, I know, check that page out. Mm-hmm. And if I wanted to, I could take all of those and summarize them on my computer or something later. But at least while I was reading the book, I had the bullet journal handy. I wrote it down. It was a handy thing. So collections are really topics. So you might have a collection, meal plans.
Yeah.
You might have a collection, senior help. You might have a collection, gardening.
Yeah. Or exercise one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to, one of the things that we did last year was there was a walk 1,000 kilometers in 2020. And so that's how we kept track of how many steps we took too. Or if you want to, for health, how many steps you take or how many kilometers did you walk to reach your goal. And the cool thing is it is so personalized collections. So if you don't care about that or that, what is something, maybe book reading, or let's say you're a crafter and you would like to keep track of that, or you could have a bullet journal especially for work. And that's, you just write everything down at work, things you have to get done. Yeah.
And you have a different one for at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you change gears, you go to a different place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So on bulletjournal.com, there are a lot of trackers. And this is an example. And basically you could have, like I had, did I take my vitamins in the morning? Did I do a morning walk? Did I exercise? And the days of the week going across, and you just X them off. I tried that many different ways through many different types of bullet journals. It kept me focused, but I never focused enough on it to keep writing it down. So now my tracker, my activity tracker, is right on the day that I'm working on it. So like here, this day I only took one vitamin, and I do it 4 times a day. So if I do 4, I actually color it in. So I have a little tracker right underneath the date, and it goes much faster. And I also feel much more positive about it because I only see what I actually did. I don't see all these blanks where I forgot, or I didn't do it, or I forgot to write it down, or that doesn't help you solve a goal. So back to the coaching thing that we're working on. You want to honor the things you're doing. You don't want to feel bad on the day you didn't exercise or whatever it is. So that's why I switched to this little tracker on a daily basis. But there's all kinds of them.
Oh, and it's amazing. You can track, let's say, movies that you want to watch, books you want to read. There's so many different ways of doing it, and you'll find when you start a bullet journal that it will progress. So in the very beginning, this was my start for my bullet journal, which was last year on May 19th, and then this is last year. That's a different way that I've done it. And then you have what I'm using now. So I have my list of my days, what my hours are for working, and what tasks I want to do that week. And one of the things that I've heard about bullet journals, I don't know if you've heard about this, is that somebody said your top priority for that day has to be the first thing on your list. Then if you want to, you could have 3 things that it would be really nice to get those done, and then other ones that you would like to do.
Another thing that Writer Carol does is where you have the bullet journal, if and you've listed a bunch of bullets, but you don't really know what all you have to do until you get them down on the page, you can just put an asterisk, a little star, beside the most important one.
Yeah.
And then it's not at the top because you didn't think of it until you got halfway down the list, but it's still itemized. It's got a little special mark.
Yeah.
So that you know, this is the one thing I intend to do before everything else is finished. I have to have that thing done.
And you can do your bills. Okay, this day you have to have this bill paid. You could actually write that down and put a star beside it saying, okay, I need to pay that bill that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like on garbage day, I always have written down in my bullet journal on Wednesdays that's when the garbage gets picked up outside my house in Mornville.
Yeah. I guess between the two of us, it's showing how adaptable the bullet journal is. It really is very personalized for yourself.
Right. And then at the end, it's a good idea to check in with it first thing in the morning and near the end of your day, just to make sure that you didn't forget stuff, and you can cross off. You get that positive feeling of crossing off the things you did do, or moving forward the things you still need to do. Or the other cool thing is you can actually just cross off something because you've decided it isn't important. It isn't meeting my goals. It isn't meeting my values. It's turned out to be busy work. I'm not doing it anymore. And because you've written it down and looked at it, and you realize in this particular case, I wrote it down for about 7 days. And then I thought, well, I'm obviously not doing it. Maybe I don't need to do it. Cross. So that's cool. At the end of your month, what you do is you look over your whole month. You look at what's still a dot. And you put the little arrow going the other way, and you move it back into your future log if you really want to keep it. So you put it into the next month or 2 months down the road or whatever it is. And so you don't lose track of things.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Yeah. I heard a really good one. There was a mother with a child who had serious health issues. And the child had an episode that he needs to go to the hospital. This mom had written down everything about the child, what medication he was, what the doctor had, what it was the condition the child had, and everything. And when the child had an episode, what the mom did is she ripped out the pages of the book, gave it to the ambulance, and when they got to the hospital, the doctors could read exactly what the condition was and everything like that. So that's a really good thing about a bullet journal. Everything was in the book about it. And you could do it for your personal stuff. If you have allergies, if you have conditions, what medications you're on, you could all write it in your book and you have it there. So that's another application for a bullet journal.
Yeah, a really good one. And that was like a life-saving thing in that child's case, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And writer Carol on his website, and even on his book, he has it written out in different scenarios, and it really is, he says, very personalized for everybody.
And by the way, that book is available through our library system.
And Overdrive.
And Libby. Overdrive as well. So there you go. You can get the bullet journal book by writer Carol and learn more about them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all we have to do to talk about it for today. We're going to add to this a little bit later on. Cheryl, one of our library people, kept bullet journals for a while, and hers are very artistic. So she's willing to share some of her pages from her bullet journals so that you can see how relaxing and fun it could be if you want to spend a lot of time making fancy monthlies and things like that. This is not what I do. Mine are messy, but they're very utilitarian and practical.
Well, it's a little bit...
Yours are pretty.
Yeah, mine are pretty, but they're very basic. I am really using it as a brain dump. Really. That's what it's for. It's like getting stuff, like we're so busy thinking, okay, I have to do this, and you have so much that you have to remember. But sometimes just taking it, throwing it in, then you can concentrate on other stuff.
So good luck with getting a bullet journal or making one. They're easy to find at Chapters. You can make your own out of a scribbler.
Mine is definitely just...
Or if you did the bookbinding.
Yeah.
You could use
session.
your bookbinding from that we had. Yes, that would be another great way to do it. They certainly don't have to be this size. They can be any size. It's your bullet journal, and it's just a way of keeping track of your goals. So we will be moving on next week to other things in the garden of our lives. So good luck with your planning and programming of your goals.
And it's also really fun to go back and see what you did the year before with your bullet journals.
Yeah. Yes, because my first one was 2017. And this one is 2020, which was an interesting year. And now we're into 2021. I don't put the sticker on until the year's over. There you go.